This is Euroballs in partnership with Ladbrokes, our Euro 2020 show here on Balls.ie. I'm Mick McCarthy, delighted to be joined once again by Kevin Doyle today. As we enter the last week of the Euros, Kevin, there's only 3 games left, unbelievably. I can't, like, the weekend, it's funny, you had the games on Friday and Saturday, and it already feels like the tournament is, I don't know, it's almost out of mind a little bit until all of a sudden now we start to think about it again. It's like, hold on, tomorrow night we've got Italy and Spain in one semi-final, England and Denmark, the 2 stories of the tournament in many ways, at least from our point of view, are meeting on Wednesday night. And it's like, it is actually an intriguing and exciting final week, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But you go a couple of days without it and you do switch off and forget about it. It's been really good though. It's been class. Every game, I usually get more into a tournament as it goes on, but I've been sort of intrigued by this from day one. The group stages are usually pretty boring, especially you think of World Cups and you're just like hoping for them to be over. But these were class storylines everywhere, and now 2 really good semi-finals. And all the teams deserve to be in the semi-finals. They've all like Denmark. The more you see them, the more you realize they're a really good team with really good players, and not just there on fighting spirit, they're there on talent, and been class watching them.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And we'll talk about them in a minute. I wonder, did you feel like there was a point during the Italy and Belgium game, I think, was it even the first time? Maybe it was early in the second half, where I got that kind of old feeling of like a genuine, like kind of like excitement. It wasn't even a moment. It was just a kind of a, Jesus, this is so good. That sort of, and it's like a real old, like being a kid in football again, where there was just, it had built up where like 10 things had happened over the course of like 10 minutes. And it was just like, I just got really excited. And it's like, God, if you can remember 3 moments like that in a tournament, looking back all the years. And I feel like you're right. This tournament has given us loads of them.
Yeah, and I'm unfortunately, I have to admit, I did the game before for TV. I was driving back to Wexford, so I didn't get to watch the fucking Italy game. And everyone's telling me how class they were, and I've just seen highlights of it, and they're everyone's favourites now. And the highlights I saw was all just fucking Italy lads rolling around and pretending to be injured. The game, the goals were good, obviously, but I just see lads on the floor. I can't, I suppose, go into too much detail on that match in particular, only on the goals and the few highlights.
Yeah, it's a bit. One thing though that does come out of it, as we start to look ahead to this weekend, tomorrow, and the semi-final, is like Spinazzola having another one of those games that, like, he's become this sort of household name now. A great name to start off with, but also a great footballer. We're gonna be talking about Spinazzola for a long time when we look back at this tournament. And then the hamstring goes, or whatever. Was it even the hamstring, actually? Yeah, and it's just like it was an unbelievably dramatic taking off, where he's literally like strapped into the stretcher, and it took about 5 minutes. But what a blow to the tournament in many ways. That you had this kind of, when you do have a star of the tournament, it becomes the one that we all remember it by, and then they go out like that, and we're not going to see him for the last 2 games if Italy do make the final.
I know. I'm pretty sure I saw pictures of him hugging everyone and leaving the squad. Yesterday, he's gone from the tournament, and that's just it. That's the way the tournaments go. Players, and they're forgotten about so quickly. And Italy play this game now, and if they win the semi-final, be in the final, and he'll be old news. It'll feel like it was 2 months ago when he was playing. Yeah. And the squad will move on, the players will move on, and that's just it. And it's that's what tournaments for. That's why you have bigger squads as well. But it's like the group stages. They feel like months ago already. You've forgotten the stories and the teams that were in the tournament, the teams that added to it. Now it's all about just who's left. And like Ronaldo in the final 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever the bloody last Euros was, 5 years ago. You forget he didn't play in the final. Or he got injured in the final, came off, and teams go on, and you have to be a good squad to win it. You're not relying on one player. And Italy, before the tournament, speaking of Italy, you would have gone through their team and go, that they've probably, looking for work. Obviously, Cellini over the years has been world-class centre half, but you think they've not got the out-and-out strongest squad. And now they get to a semi-final, you watch them play, and you realise, tell you what, every one of those players had, getting most teams in Europe. But you wouldn't have thought that before the tournament. You'd probably just sort of glance over their squad and not think, maybe not as strong as some of the others.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, I mean, there's names that have become household names, as we said, that they've really shone in this tournament. And while they've been stars from day one, and I've been very down on Spain. We've had a conversation.
Yeah.
You've been a lot more balchy on them than I have, and here they are in a semi-final. And like, you have to say at this stage you're proved right, and you have to say at this point from Luis Enrique's point of view, it's like, you know, he made a few ballsy decisions in the build-up to the tournament, and he looked like a man under pressure in the group stages. And now they're going into semi-final, kind of with nothing to lose, really.
Yeah, they've got as far now, I suppose, as they were sort of expected, or maybe further than as some people expected. Made a big decision with Ramos beforehand, didn't wait on him to get fit, and just reading between the lines, it was, you know, I think he felt Ramos was too much of a big character or big personality, sort of boss-like figure around the place, and he didn't want that. He wanted to be the man in charge, and he was the one making decisions. And their squad, lots of young players in there. You know, it is a changeover, I suppose, to us anyway, not the strongest French squad or Spanish squad that we've had in recent tournaments, but they actually have, I'm surprised looking at their history in recent tournaments, they haven't been that strong. They've been really good in this one. I know the first game they drew with Sweden, but you know, I don't read too much into stats, especially possession stats. I'm always like, possession means nothing. It's a help, and you always know Spain are going to have more possession, but as in chances on goal, attacks on goal, in comparison to every team in every game they've played, they've been, you know, light years ahead. It's been, you know, like I was doing their 2 or 3 of their games and just reading off their stats after every game. Like, it was 17 attempts on goal to 3, 16 attempts to 4. Every game they were having meaningful attacks, meaningful efforts on goal, and apart from the first game where they couldn't convert them, they were top scorers in the tournament coming into the quarterfinals. They didn't play well in the actual quarterfinals. It's the worst I've seen them play. But they went through on penalties, obviously, and in the semi-final now, and you would not write them off beating, having a chance to beat Italy. Not a really good attacking team. Defensively, maybe not quite as strong, but they create chances. So it's, again, a lot of talk about them taking their chances more so than creating them. They've been misfiring on penalties, but they've very good position and playing well. And the manager, I like him. I don't know. He gives me. He's a likable type of person. I think, hearing him being interviewed and seeing him on the touchline, and I think the players are playing for him as well, which obviously is very important.
Definitely, yeah. He's kind of grown as a character of the tournament in his own way as well. Like, you know, obviously famous beforehand and so on and so forth. But it was a great penalty shootout, I thought. It was just one of those, so, you know, it's like, that's what you kind of want, the penalty shootout, ups and downs and thinking that it's gone and so on and so forth. But God, what, like, a great tournament for Switzerland as well. But if you were to call this one, then again, it's sort of Italy cruising their way through. But again, I just feel like you've had a feeling for Spain the whole way through.
I'm going to stick with Spain. I know how good Italy have been. I didn't get to see, as I said, I was driving home from doing the Spain game. I didn't get to see the game live. So I suppose that's why I'm not as strong on Italy. I'm not as everyone who's seen them live in that game, you know, just grew. I know everyone, I've seen them play live in the tournament already, and they were fantastic. But their admiration for, a lot of people's admiration for them grew even more after the quarterfinal. But I'm just going to stick with Spain. I covered them, I think, 3 times in the tournament, and they were the worst they've played is the quarterfinal, which would be a worry. But then they had a tough, you know, went to extra time again. They had extra time. They had 120 minutes 3 days earlier. So I'd give them the benefit of the doubt and imagine that they'll be fresh enough against Italy now. Be a close one. But defensively, they're so strong and organised. They're really good attacking. But Spain, I just think they might be able to break Italy down. Yeah. They're just. I'd worry about Pedri. He's 18. He's played every minute pretty much, and he played 50-something games for Barcelona. He was really good. He was quiet in the quarterfinal. Is he like some miles on a little young lad? He's not the biggest fella on his clock over the course of the season. Just, you know, this time last year he was trying to keep Las Palmas up, playing in a relegation battle, second division game in Spain as a 17-year-old. And a year later he's in the European semi-finals after playing 50-something games for Barcelona. It's an awful lot of stuff that's gone on for a young fella who's so important to them, and was quiet the other night. So, you know, Biscuits was poor the other night. He needs to step up in this game again. He's been really good in the tournament. He was poor the other night. He missed the first couple of games, obviously, but he was really good when he came back in the team and was quiet the other night. So they need those players to be really at it if they're to win it.
Okay, well, it's a repeat of the Euro 2012 final. I think after you played both teams in the group stages, and there was definitely
we were there anyway. We watched them play.
But yeah, like I mean, I feel like everybody felt that Italy weren't a fair match for Spain, and that the way it worked out was they played them in the final. It's almost a role reversal for this semi-final. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But without being in any way disrespectful to them, and I do, there's people there who just want to see this Italy team and won't care about the ins and outs of the other match. But for most of us, the intrigue really lies in Denmark and England. There's a growing fear / acceptance / whatever the case may be that this is England's year, and Ukraine not up to much. We know that. We've had discussions about that on the show. You guys have had discussions about it in the RT studio. But England went and did what they hadn't done in the rest of the tournament and just put them to bed and played very, very well. But Denmark are still here, and we talked about possible destiny and all this kind of nonsense. I don't know whether people believe it. They have a lot of miles on the clock in this tournament now, and a lot of injuries and so on and so forth, but they're still there and still look pretty good. It's going to be it's definitely not a guarantee that England are going to win this game.
No, I think destiny, speaking of destiny and all that, I think who wins this game wins the tournament. I think if Denmark have managed somehow to beat England, they'll win it. Just the way it's gone, it seems like they've just got better and better. They've been fantastic to watch. I've loved watching them. England, in fairness, I really like the way Gareth Southgate adapted. Like against Ukraine, he didn't need to be as defensively minded, and he wasn't. He changed the way they played a little bit and gave Sancho a run out. He wasn't fantastic, but got him on the pitch and was willing to be a bit more attack minded, and because of the game that was in it. Interesting to see what he does with this one now. I'd imagine he'll be back to the way he was in the first few games. Harry Kane scoring 2 goals again. You just knew he got that first goal in the last 16 against Germany that would set him up and he'd get going again. He did. He's coming into form for them at the semi-final stage. Sorry to disappoint maybe the Irish crowd that are watching the show, but you'd have to go with England, wouldn't you? As you said, Denmark have a lot of water under the bridge in this tournament so far. They've been so good though, and they keep stepping up and keep surprising, I suppose, and keep performing again. As I said, who wins this for me wins the tournament.
Wow, okay, that's a big one. The one thing you mentioned, Sancho coming in, and I was thinking about this. It was like we're all calling for, where's Jadon Sancho? Southgate doesn't include what he's doing, and then when he plays him, there's another part of my brain's going, it's like, why are you playing your fourth right winger in 5 games? And you're thinking like if you think Saka's the man, play Saka. If you think it's Foden, play Foden. It's like he is chopping and changing a lot in a way, and maybe that's just a use of your squad. But the fact that it seems to be always in the same position, Sterling's in, Kane in, and it's like the last thing you want the manager to be doing if you're an England fan is trying to keep everybody happy, because that's just a sign of a weak manager in a way. Maybe that's unfair. But there was definitely a part of me was thinking, why are you throwing a new guy in the quarterfinal?
It was a strange one. He couldn't get on the bench in the first game or two.
Yeah.
Interesting. That was really surprising to me. And then I was thinking, did he know that the Man United transfer thing was going on and he wasn't happy with that? And then once that was confirmed the other day that he said, I'll play him now or whatever, I don't know. Maybe that was in the back of his mind. Speaking to Didi Hamann about it, he was saying he couldn't believe Sancho wasn't playing all tournament, how good a season he'd had in Germany. But they've got obviously good competition, but you're right, good competition for that position. But how does he come in at the quarterfinal stage? I can only assume it was that transfer that he knew that was going on behind the scenes. Gareth Southgate probably wasn't delighted about it, and once that was out of the way, he felt he could maybe trust him to play him then. So we're scrabbling around here trying to think of reason, as good a reason as any, because otherwise why wouldn't he have played him or had him?
Exactly, yeah. Who knows? What do you think he's going to do Wednesday and just throw in Rashford all of a sudden as the go back
I
to his
don't
original
know.
three from last year?
Yeah, I don't. We're questioning Southgate, but it's also a reason I like him because he doesn't go with. I think we talked about this. He doesn't go with the general public mood in England or what the press want or what we always felt previous managers have done just to try to keep everyone happy. He goes with what he sees as the right thing, and for whatever reason, whatever stats he has behind the scenes, whatever details he has. So that's why I like Gareth Southgate and why I think it could be different this time for England. But yeah, you can't predict. You can predict his two centre midfielders more than likely. Although you could say start Jordan. I don't know actually. Yeah, well, I'd imagine that the two midfielders, the two centre halves, the same as the goalie and all. But other than that, he could surprise us. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I suppose the bigger question, rather than who plays, is does he revert? Was the five at the back a Germany-specific decision, or like now you say, right, we could beat Denmark. Like if you're England, you're thinking we can beat Denmark. We can go out and we can attack them and play. Maybe you play with Phillips and Rice, absolutely, but four at the back, you get Shaw and Walker, as it's probably going to be, forward as much as possible and go out and win the game. If I would be very worried if I was an England fan, if I see five at the back and a sense of we're afraid to go out and take this for ourselves,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like I was surprised he changed it for Germany, but it turned out obviously to be the right decision. Yeah. There's managers who go with their system and their belief, and they hope other teams change for them, and they're not changing for anyone. And Gareth Southgate doesn't play like that. He, more than likely matches up. I can see why you match up with a three at the back, though. It is hard playing against a three at the back from an attacking or from a defending point of view. So I can see why he might match up. From an attacking point of view, though, you'd fancy them against three at the back. Denmark, it was you watch them against Belgium in the second half when they got run, when they had people pulling centre halves out of the way, like Lukaku springs to mind twice, pull the centre half out of the way, and they get dragged out of position, and then once he's able to turn and pass it, the centre half out of three is totally out of the game, and it leaves a big, massive hole. And Belgium managed to exploit it against them. So it's a tough one defensively. It'll be the same for England, but I'd fancy him against Denmark with their three at the back. I don't think it'd matter to England whether they match up or not. I think they have enough in all the positions. But like before the Germany game, I would have said, yeah, they shouldn't match up. But after seeing how they did it against Germany, and it didn't seem like any problem to them. Obviously well versed in it, and they know how to do it. It's not something new to them, so they'll have confidence as well, knowing we did it against Germany and it was absolutely fine. And so I suppose I wouldn't now be, if I was an England fan, be as worried if we did change it. And I could see why he would, because it negates a lot of the advantages of 3-5-2 if you just match up against them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it gives a kind of a lease of life to Harry Maguire as well. I find that he was a different player almost in a way against, and obviously Walker on the other side of him can do the same as well. So there's definitely pluses and minuses to every decision that they make. So you're going for England Spain final then, if you were going to your head?
Oh, you go to head, yeah, England, and I think I'll go say whoever does win it, I think he'll win the competition.
Wow. Okay. There. So, an England win for the competition is Kevin's prediction. He doesn't want to say it quite exactly that way, but if you put all the pieces together, that's ultimately Kevin Doyle has predicted England win. They end 55 years of hurt and so on and so forth. Wembley, it's coming home.
Well, my son was born in England and he's got an English birth cert, so he thinks he can't lose. He's like, yeah, if Ireland don't win, well, I've got England, and he's cheering all the way and trying to explain to him that he's got an Irish passport and he's living in Ireland now, but he's going on the English bandwagon.
There you go. Well, look, nationality is a complicated thing. He can support whoever he wants.
It is.
Look, I mean, he can support whoever he wants, but look, if he does turn out to be, chip off the old block, just make sure that he, the FAI are onto him nice and early.
Yeah, I'm trying to explain to him we got two Irish lads playing for England. You can support them too.
Kev, we'll chat to you ahead of the final, where all this will become a lot more real. And
yeah, we'll be joking next week.
We'll chat to you, I think, on Thursday. But thanks very much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks a million to Kevin. We'll be back, as I said, lots this week as we look ahead to the culmination of an amazing and brilliant Euro 2020. Thanks a million to Ladbrokes, as always. If you are having a bet on the Euros or anything else, please always gamble responsibly. Visit dunlewy.net for more information. Check out ladbrokes.com after 10 a.m. on match days for great offers such as free five-a-side bets and other such things. So, thanks a million for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.